Hello. Thank you so much for joining me here in my studio. If you don't know me, my name is Abby and I am a painter. And this is my home studio. We are tucked up in a little basement room. And today I thought I would bring you along with me as I give it a little tidy and get ready for my next creative week ahead of me. And since it's Sunday, I'm coming to you in like my comfiest outfit. Yeah, I like pairing something wonderful with something that I don't like. So like a comfy outfit with cleaning is ideal, and even better if you put on your favorite music. So I am going to tackle this room. I usually only clean it once a month because I'm under the impression that you could easily get yourself distracted from what you actually have to do by tidying your studio. So I just set it in my mind, it can wait until once a month, and then I do a big tidy and like during an afternoon, and then I am set for another month or until I just can't navigate my room. So let's get into picking up and all of that good stuff. So this table right here is actually an old kitchen table, and there was a top to this bottom part right here, and you could flip it down and this part flips up and it turns into a bench, but I broke the top off, so now it's just like an open storage container, and it's a bit of a collect-all. So I have like an old quilting project that I was excited about for a while in there, and I have some fabric that I thought maybe I would do something with that I decided not to. But a lot of exciting things happen at this table. I have been working on these little ink, having so much fun. So I do all the flat work usually on this table, and it needs some love. So let me turn you around and get into that. Here's something I'd like to show you guys. So this is a good example of you don't have to have one first perfect attempt. Like I drew it out, I made my rabbit too dark, and I said, let me just give it another go. And I was much happier with my second attempt. And I generally do not share things like this on Instagram because, you know, it's a failed attempt, but it is kind of exciting to see the progression of a project from an artist. So there is something, and I'm going to tuck this away. And this isn't quite done because I wanted to make the clouds kind of like this. I'm very excited about continuing on with this little rabbit in her little dream world. So I'm going to just put these away until I'm ready for the next part of it. I have these big box lights in my studio, and I move them around as I film in different locations around my studio because not only am I making art, but I make content around the art that I create. So having these lights have been so incredibly wonderful. And they do take up a bit of floor space, so that would be something to consider if you are looking for lighting for your home studio. They have like a pretty wide footprint. But one thing I love about my studio is in this closet, I can shut this door, oops, I have a utility sink. And actually, when we first moved into this house, we had a washer and dryer here, but now we took the washer and dryer out and we added a utility sink for me. And it's absolutely fantastic because I was washing my brushes in the bar sink that is in the playroom right outside this door. So now I don't have to do that anymore, and I can make a huge mess in this sink, and I'm actually going to give you a little look at it because it is now definitely a workhorse sink, and I love it. So here we go. All of these stains are just from me washing my paints, and I don't feel too precious about it because it is doing exactly what it's intended for. And then in this closet I have some supplies from whenever I was a knitwear designer, and I just have them all tucked up in here. Here's a sweater that I never finished, but isn't it stunning with these baubles on it? Yeah, so it's just a little peek into a corner of my studio that I usually don't show people. One thing I would like to change about my studio in the future is this open shelving. It just immediately makes my studio feel way messier than it needs to be. And if I could shut these things behind a cabinet, I would be so happy. So I think what I'm going to do in the future is get rid of these squares and get something like an antique dresser or something, and I can just put all the stuff away and get a little bit more hidden organization. I have two standing desks. I inherited this one from my husband's office. I don't even use the standing option right now because I have these two shelving units below. Yeah, if I could put a cabinet right here, that would be really great. And now I'm just talking out loud to you guys and thinking. So let's get back to cleaning what I should have been doing in the first place. I do a lot of work on this little tabletop easel, and it holds like quite a few different sizes of canvases. I believe this is 24 by 24. And I painted this one on this little easel. And I like how I can stand up and work on a painting. But I think in the future, I would like to get one of those lovely, beautiful wooden easels, because right now I am painting my big paintings on this metal dry erase board holder. And this painting is, I think like, I don't know, like 28 or something wide, but the painting has to be at least 36 inches wide for it to fit on this rack. So it kind of limits me a tiny bit, and I am going to invest in an easel very soon. I got this one specifically because I could fold it up really small, since I have a little bit of a small space. But you know what? I think it might be time for me to get a bigger easel. Behind my table here, I like to store canvases that are not yet ready to be painted on. And right now I have some vintage frames that I'm keeping, I guess, until I decide if I want to use them for something. But they are quite lovely. So I'm going to get these pushed back and put my canvases back here. I'm actually going to keep this one out for my next painting because I think this size would be really ideal for my next idea. So I'm going to sit this one out and put it on the top of my mind that I'm going to do that painting next. This canvas is prepped, but I'm not ready to use it yet, so I'm going to put it away as well. In true Abby fashion, I bought this little canvas to make a punch needle frame, but I just don't have the time or energy to work on this right now because I have too many creative projects that are on the top of my brain before this. So I'm going to figure out a place to store this until I decide to use it. Okay, you're joining me down here on the floor to figure out what to do about this little area. I cut my prints on this vintage paper cutter. That was my dad's, and it doesn't really have a great place to be stored, so I shove it right here. But of course, I cut a print and didn't put it away, so let's put it away together. These are all trash, so I'm just going to pitch them. One thing I would like to mention is I think giving yourself just maybe like 30 minutes to get your studio in order gives you such a big boost of creative confidence because you know your space is going to be clean, and when you come in, you can just get straight to work. Now, I do a really good job of putting blinders on, so I can like walk over a mess and get straight to work, especially when my time is limited. Sometimes I don't even know that it's gotten messy until it's like the month comes up for me to clean it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, time for me to get my studio back in order. So this painting right here that I finished last week, I did a color study about, I don't know, like 4 months ago or something, and I just tested the idea out. I said, I really want to put these like glimmery iridescent wings on a lamb, and I just sat down and did it. And so I have had this little painting sitting and kind of giving me some creative inspiration for quite a while. And so I thought this was kind of neat to see the idea painting and the big painting together. And so before I put this away, I wanted to show you. So leaning against this wall back here, I have this painting of the dollhouse that I started back in the fall. And I turned it around, and I get questions about this painting like really often, like once a day, which is wild that people are still thinking about this. So I would like to get back to this. The last room I started was this room with all the picture frames, and but my very favorite room is the bathtub, the bathroom. I just love it. It's so cute, and I love this fireplace. And this horse. Yeah, so eventually I'll get back to it. Now, I have children. So I actually have a 3-year-old, and she will come in here and play with me while I do some work. So sometimes just random toys show up on my floor in my room, like for example, Gumby is now in my studio, but actually he's pretty cute, so I might keep him and put him on the windowsill, because who doesn't love a little reminder of your childhood? And in fact, I have one other thing I wanted to show you. If you're a millennial like I am, doesn't this give you some good memories? It is a backpack thing. I can't think of the word right now. And you all are probably screaming it at me. So anyways, these two are going to stay in my studio because they give me such good feelings. But the wooden hot dog, it has to go. Throughout my studio, I have these little pieces of wood that I used to love painting on, and I still do. I just have gone a little bit bigger recently. I would go to the hardware store and have them cut me down wooden panels for me to paint on, and I would hang hanging wire on them. And here is another one of these little color boards. So anytime I clean off my palette, I will take one of these little boards and I'll do these little built up old paint color pieces, and they're really fun. Yeah, so I take the paint from my palette and I like say this pink needs to be refreshed, and there's like nothing left really good on it. I'll scrape it off and I'll add it to my little painting. So that is a really good use of old paint. Instead of just throwing it away, make one of these. And let me show you the one that's already finished. Here it is. Isn't it lovely? It's kind of dark over in this corner of my studio, but it is such a good representation of my palette at that time in my life. I just adore it. It's so great, and it's just filled with so much character. So I feel like I will have a whole bunch of these in the future. Now that I decided that I wanted to keep my old paint, that is what I'm going to do. Make these little paintings. One thing about being an artist is that you just kind of naturally have a whole bunch of stuff. You buy paper that you're not super in love with. This paper's fine, but to do watercolor on, no. But then you'll buy something you absolutely love. And so now you have a whole collection of paper and supplies. So I don't really have a great tip, but just want you to know that I see you. If you have a lot of art supplies, I see you. So do I. But I do keep stuff like this paper because I have children and I can pull it out and they can make whatever they want. And especially big sheets like this, so fun to work on. And I mean, if you have the space and you can keep your extra art supplies, I say why not? I'm a maximalist, so keep the stuff, and eventually you'll use it. And if not, who cares? I probably will never be the type of artist to tell you to like minimalize your art supplies. Now, I will say I am pretty minimal about what I use when I create. So for example, I paint with a very limited palette. So only 11 colors. And so that is one thing that I am minimal about. But art supplies and keeping things, if you have space, keep it. Of my studio is a bit of a workforce area, and I am going to put you on speed time and clean it up, and you guys can watch. I don't really show you guys this area because it's just where I pack orders, write letters, throw stuff, and it is just like not beautiful. So let's just get it cleaned up really quickly. So my workhorse table, I usually put down this sheet of paper, not because I'm protecting it. Usually it's because I wanted like a nice background to film on. But I think it's time for me to let this one go off into the trash and put a new one down. So let's do that now. For my big piece of brown paper, I buy the rolls from like the hardware store, and I guess it like contractors or people working would put this paper down, and then it would act as like a drop cloth. It's really a great price, and I've had this roll for a really long time. Whenever I ship paintings, I wrap it in this brown paper and then put like a bow around it. I use it for everything, and sometimes when I want to sketch really big, I'll roll this out and do some sketching. Yeah, so great value for what you get if you buy this big roll of paper. Sometimes just doing the simple thing of like covering up a like color-filled table like this, it's like giving your brain a little bit of a color break to focus on what you're really working on. So if you have a studio table that's completely covered in paint, I don't know, try this out. I really love doing this. It just gives me a little bit of a fresh thinking space, and obviously it's nice to look at when you film. All right, I believe I am at the point to where I feel like my studio is as tidy as it's going to be for the day. I love the feeling of a nice, fresh, put-up studio, but it won't stay that way for long because I come down here and I work this studio for every single square inch that it's worth. So I'm really excited about my upcoming creative week. And thanks for hanging out with me as I tidied. I loved it. It was super fun. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. I'm still just like learning how to put together these videos, so if they seem a little bit like disjointed, I'm really sorry. I'm still learning how. And it's like such a fun creative process as well. And so thanks for joining me. I would love to have you come back and hang out with me again in my studio. I am going to do some sketching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.